The challenges facing our teens today mean that more than ever, we need to be there to support them and encourage them. The DrStem Show is here to provide discussions about topics that will help promote healthy relationships, self-image, and success for teens, parents, and the community. Our young people can achieve more in life than they ever dreamed possible. The DrStem Show, hosted by Dr. Stem Malatini, will foster these discussions and encourage your participation.
A work in progress. We are all a work in progress. That means the parents, the teenagers, the teachers, and you, the audience that is watching us today. Welcome to the DrStem Show. Today, we have one of my favorite teenagers. I call her a teenager because when I met her, she was a teenager, and I was blessed to see her transition from being a teenager into an adult that she is today. Welcome to the show, Deora Thompson.
Thank you for having me.
So before we start, what I decided to do is I'm going to read you a poem standing on behalf of the mothers, and Deora will read from one of my books standing on behalf of the teenagers. The show is actually a review of what I have written in my 3 books, 47 and a half things to say to your teenager and how to say them, and also 47 and a half things that you need to know about getting along with your teenager. And the 3rd book, if we have time, we'll get to that. It's Zero Limits. So the poem that I'm going to read to you is Every Mom's Test, which is every mother's test. To your teenagers, we say, you are very special. You mean the world to me. You are my dear daughter, a reflection of my entity. Every year as I watch you grow by my side, no matter what you do, you are my source of pride. The umbilical cord may have been cut, but you should know you're still bound to my soul wherever you go. Sometimes I may come across as firm, and you may think that I'm wrong. Remember, it is easy to give in than to be tough and strong. Sometimes I'm strict, and you think, oh, she's being unfair, but I correct you only because I love and love you even more. I harden my heart sometimes, nag you, scold you, and fight to teach you the difference between right and wrong. For soon the days will pass swiftly like a whirl, and a woman you will grow into from my baby girl. Tomorrow when you need inner strength, above all, I hope my values that I'm giving you today will give you the courage to stand tall. I hope that in my teaching you will find the tips, few as they may be, soon when you strive to make your dreams come true. At a later date, when the real world you have to face, today's lessons will help you go along in the race. Someday in the future, when you become a mother, a good mother that you will be, from my point of view, I think you will see everything from my side where I stand now. So we'll have Deora read one from the teenager's point of view.
This is called Let Me Be. I am now 16 and you think I'm out of control. How can I express to you I just want to be out more? I know I'm too young to know what love is, but I am too young to know my own feelings. Yeah, I won't lie. We learn from mistakes. Get what life gives you and don't hesitate. What will it take for you to see? I'm just trying to be 16. Chill out and let me be. Now I'm at the age of feelings and rage and hormones. It is that the reason you tried to keep me at home? Then it comes dating, world, yeah, I see. But how can I have fun and be comfortably if you don't trust me? So right now, just for you, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. Let's start off right and trust me again. I'm still a virgin, but I'm not innocent. Can we start over and you trust 16? Erase everything and let's start off clean.
How did that feel, you reading that? Can you relate to any of that?
Yeah.
So again, you know what? Tell the people who you are, because I know I just introduced you real briefly, but why don't you tell the audience who you are?
My name's Diora Thompson. I'm from Salem High School. I was a cheerleader for 12 years. I had met DrStem when I was 14, I'm sorry. I met her freshman year, and she's been with me ever since. We have a really good relationship. We've always had a good relationship. But growing up, you know, every teen has their own problems and little issues. You know, we're not perfect. We're far from perfect. We have a lot of imperfections. But that's what our parents and guidance counselors and everybody's for, to just guide you and help you know what's wrong and right and guide you to success. As of right now, I'm 20 years old. I model, I dance, I'm a songwriter. Funny to say, I never even thought I'd say any of that, but as you can see, school wasn't really for me. But not saying that it's not for anyone else. School's a great thing. It helps you learn a lot. And must I say, if I knew half of the things I knew now, I probably would have stayed in high school.
Okay, so thank you for that. What we're going to do is, as I said, today we are looking at the books that I wrote. I wrote from a teenager's point of view, and I also wrote from the parents' point of view. So what we did was we just selected some pointers that, you know, will come from the parents and one will come from the teenagers themselves. So Diora will help me to talk about some of that stuff that I wrote about, so that you can see where the teenagers are coming from, and my hope is that the teenagers will also see where the parents are coming from. From the book, 47 and a half Things to Say to a Teenager and How to Say Them, on page 7, we have one that says, be honest. So now we're talking to you, the parent. Be honest. Some of the conversations you need to have with your teenagers may require you to paint a less than perfect picture of yourself. But don't worry, they already know you're not perfect. Your teenagers know that the most important person that they have in their life is you, but you ought to be honest with them, because they know when you're lying and they know when you're not. Am I lying about that?
No, absolutely not.
How was it for you? Did you find yourself in situations where you wanted to say, Mom, just be real, be honest with me?
Yeah, yes, quite a few, too many. Honestly,
too many times.
Too many times.
So what we're doing is, you know, we're giving the parents that, you know, okay to say it's okay for you to be honest, to be open, and be able to, you know, say things that you want to say to your teenagers. Another pointer that we picked out was, so this was number 5, number 6. What does that one say, Diora? Number 6.
Please do not yell. I love this one. This is one of my favorites.
I knew.
Yelling does not accomplish anything good, that is. Yelling is a form of aggression. And think about what you want to do when someone acts aggressively towards you. In other words, you don't hear anything when someone's yelling. It's honestly, it's going in one ear and out the other. Well, it goes in my ear and one and out the other. Yelling doesn't get a point across. It just frustrates the both of you. It doesn't do anything. To be honest, I walk away before I yell. I just feel like walking away.
And I think even in the conversations, because most parents now, you're 20 years old. Do you understand though why it drives the parents to be at that point where they're yelling?
They get so frustrated. It's hard to just talk to, you know, it's hard to talk to a teenager, because when you're young, it's just, you're in a huge world by yourself. You don't see anybody, just what you want to do, and your friends are a distraction, your sports, so it's like you're kind of getting like tugged, you know what I mean? And then your mom's here. So it's...
And sometimes I think, you know, too, because you were cheerleader, I mean, your schedules were like, you were
crazy,
practicing all the time, so there's no mommy time either. And they do want mommy time. So I think those are some of the reasons why, they yell and then they wake up, they're going to work, coming back home. I bet you there were not too many days that you decided, you know what, I'm going to clean the house, cook something so that when she walks in, the house is clean and the dishes are done, the bed is made. She walks in and what does she see? A tornado. A tornado.
Yeah, Katrina hit.
Katrina hit. The dishes are in the sink. The beds are not made. There's no food in there. What is she going to do?
Get frustrated and just run around like a chicken with her head cut off.
Yeah, and yell. So now on the other end, I understand that yelling is not good. So I just gave you a scenario, the parents on, some of the reasons why they yell. So if your mother had to say to you, if I had to do it all over again, how did you want me to address you when I was frustrated? What would you say to her?
I would tell her that I want to know the problem. We should come up with a solution to fix the problem and how we can make this go away so that it does not happen again. Because yelling, all it does is your relationship is not going to be the same. The more arguments you get, it's just going to tear you guys apart to the point where you guys can't even bear to be around each other.
So I like your solution because when you started reading this, you said, you know what, I walk away before I start yelling. So I think it's a great advice to say, you know what, take some time out before you start yelling so that you can talk to me as a teenager and tell me what it is that I'm doing wrong and tell me what it is that you want from me. Right. But then there's another part of that says, you know what, the parents need to know what yelling does to their teenagers. Right. Self-esteem. I mean, it brings down somebody who's yelled at all the time.
Yeah.
You don't want to speak up in class.
Because you're scared you might get yelled at. Right.
Because you're scared you might get yelled at. That was a good one because I know, you picked up some of these as well. So that was number 6, and then we also picked up number 16 of this one here. And number 16 says, "Be fearless." Now we are talking to the parents on this book in this book here. It says, "Be fearless." Being a parent is not for the faint of heart. As someone once said, becoming a parent is a lot easier than being one. So that means getting pregnant and having the baby, that's easy. But taking care of that baby after that is actually something that you would need courage to do.
Strength.
Right? Strength to do. But once it's done and you have the baby, guess what, parents? You cannot take that back. You are a parent. You ought to be there as a parent and do what the parents do. I don't know, maybe it's me, but do you feel like there are some parents that actually have the children and all they want to do is just have them shoo away, get away, I don't want to be a parent because it's too much work?
I do. There are some, honestly, all right, every mother's different.
Yeah.
And every parents differently, yes. I should say. Do I agree with it? No, not always. But is it none of my business? No, it's not. I just feel as being a parent, it's a job.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not just a job. You're basically you have an empty jar. Yeah. And what your empty jar is what you decide to do with it. And basically what you do is just you take stuff basically and you put stuff in the jar. Yeah. You know what I mean? You fill the jar with whatever you feel like is your ideal jar. You know what I mean? And that's up to your child's, that's up to your child's to do whatever they want to do with it. Wow. But it's up to you to make sure that they follow through with it. You know what I mean? Or at least comprehend what you're putting in their jar, what you're filling their heads with, how you're teaching them, and how you're teaching them right from wrong.
If you had told me or somebody else that I'll be sitting here today talking to Dara about this, and she's making so much sense about parenting and being a teenager, I probably would have said no, but guess what? I always had faith and knew that it's possible that there will be greatness that's coming out of her. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
As a youth motivational speaker, author, and coach, DrStem understands that in a world where today's youth and parents are jaded and disappointed by institutions and people they perceive as out of touch with the reality of their lives, motivation is a dose that is much needed. It's time to excel. DrStem Malatini is a refreshing change from the typical speaker. DrStem understands the pressures, heartaches, temptations, hopes, and dreams of the generation that is just now coming of age. Students listen in transfixed silence as she speaks with the clarity and confidence of someone who has worked with teens, parents, and teachers for over 20 years. Her high-energy school assembly programs create a defining moment for schools and provide an experience students never forget. To reserve your seat in one of her coaching sessions, purchase her books, or to book her services, email her at drStemMalatini@gmail.com or go to her website at www.drstem.org.
We are talking today about bridging the gap between teenagers and parents. And the show is called A Work in Progress, which means there is no perfect way of parenting your teenagers. And for teenagers, there is no perfect way of growing up and becoming who you are meant to be. So what we're doing is I'm discussing with Diora today, who's helping me go through some of the facts that we have about growing up. So number 23, which is on page 25, what does that say? Get the facts, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. There is no worse feeling than not to believe in what you're telling the truth. That is why it is very imperative that you have all the facts.
So, what we're saying is, there's nothing that is as terrible as not being understood when you're telling the truth and your parent believes that, oh no.
Yeah.
You're not telling me the truth.
Yeah.
Is that irritating?
Very.
See, but then it's also something that I think it's on both ends, the parents as well. Because sometimes they're telling the teenagers the truth, and then the teenagers are like, no, you're lying. Oh, I don't want to hear it. So,
Yeah.
so I think, one of the things that can happen is for everybody to be able to listen to each other and say, okay, what's your side of the story? Before I can go with what I heard.
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was number 23. Then we go to number 25. This one is a good one. Pick your battles. I always talk to the parents and I said, you really have to pick your battles. Because sometimes some of the things that parents fight about with their teenagers is
ridiculous.
Like, really?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So in the book, I say, is it really worth wasting 10 minutes of a conversation reminding your teenagers how irritated you get when they don't rinse the dishes, when they don't make up their beds, when they don't wake up on time? Is that C or a D on a test that they actually have to go through and take when they get to school?
Right.
So I'm telling the parents to say, assess the situation and say, well, is this really worth me fighting with her? It's the beginning of the school. There were many days, I think, when I saw you coming in and you were already mad before you walk into the school. And I'm going, we didn't wake up with you. What happened? Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I think it's days like that when I'm talking about it to say, when you wake up in the morning for the parents, don't fight with your kid before then.
I know, it's bad enough we got to wake up at the crack of dawn.
And tell me a little bit about what happens when you wake up in the morning, you get in an argument or something goes wrong before you get into the school. Talk to me about your day in the school.
Your whole day is pretty going to be crashed. It's like you're taking Fruity Pebbles and you're crunching them like this, and all your hopes and dreams are just falling down into dusk, into nothing. I used to always come to school angry. Bad enough, despite the fact that I woke up at 5:45 in the morning, I was up before the sun was up, and it was horrible. And then when your mom wakes you up, and then, you know what I mean, and you're arguing, and then you get to school, and then you're hungry. You were late to school because you got into the argument, and then you go to school and you're late for breakfast, so you can't eat. So then you're on an empty stomach, and then you're thinking about you and your mom's argument, but then you know you're going to get grounded because of what you might have said when you left the house, and you don't want to do homework, you don't want to focus. It just carries on throughout your day, and your mind is just lost.
Then you get into the classroom.
Yeah.
And the teacher says, Diora, sit down!
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It kind of made my blood boil. But I'm a student. What am I to do, you know? So sometimes you have to bite your tongue, but at the end of the day, you can't change your emotions. You can't make someone feel a certain way. They're going to feel how they feel about the situation. The universe doesn't work like that. So,
we're going back to time. The teacher yells at you. Remember now, when you woke up in the morning, had a fight, argument with mom, you get in and the teacher says, Tiara, sit down. Okay, that's another thing. But then the girls that are sitting in the back of the class, your friend that you were talking decides that she's going to sit in the back of the class today, and they're whispering something, and you know exactly that they're talking about you. Tell me how that makes one feel when you've already had a day that started the way that it started.
then you might as well just finish it out that way.
What do you do?
That's how you're going to just start to feel. Well, that's how I started to feel. I just felt like, okay, my whole day's going bad. And so instead of me trying to fix it, let's just finish it up and make it go away. And honestly, it made me have a negative attitude because negative energy feeds off of negative energy. And that's just basically how it is. If you're around negative people, 9 times out of 10, your day's going to be negative.
And that's why I wanted to go through that scenario so that, you know, I mean, the people that are watching out, they can see how that just trickles down to how your day started and how the day ends. So guess what? We're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to the DrStem Show. Back to
The 47 things to say to your teen and how to say it to them.
and 47 and a half things that teenagers need to know about getting along with their parents. You know what?
very
We've been
important.
discussing about the things that their parents have to say to their teenagers. How about if we switch?
Yeah.
So that
This plays an important role too.
yeah, so that we can talk about what the teenagers want their parents, you know, to know about getting along with them. I think one of the first ones that you wanted
Was number one.
was number one.
I choose number one. And number one is you are your parents' greatest investment. Must I say, that is 100% true. Because nine times out of 10, half of the students that I went to school with, they're now basketball players. They're now editors for films. They're now models. They're now singers. They're now actors. Whatever it is that they want to be, they have become. And I'll tell you the truth, they're lucky because thanks to us, we're gonna take care of all of our moms and in our sisters and whoever it is. We're gonna be able to pay their bills, put them in their houses. We are our parents' greatest investment, must I say. Everybody is, no matter what you become. If you're gonna be the basketball player, you make sure that you become the best basketball player that there is can be.
And I'm still like in awe seeing you on this set and hearing you say what you're saying. I can't even tell you enough that on behalf of your mother and all the mothers and counselors and therapists that are out there, you have made us proud. I mean, just to hear you say that, because I know there will be a lot of people that will look at this show and say, what? That's Deora? Am I lying?
No.
No. They will be saying that. But I want you to know that, you know, for me, that's why I work with teenagers, and that's why I'm passionate about working with teenagers, because when I see, and I brought somebody that they say, oh, this one is really bad,
Right.
I see greatness. I see this day that we're here today. I'm telling you, I saw this day where we would be looking at you and going, oh my, look at her and look at how, you know, she's turned out to be. So I want the parents that are watching this and the teenagers that are watching this to know that wherever you are, whatever it is that you're going through,
Make sure that you're the best at it.
you're going to be the best at it. But things can change. You can change your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that if you're bad in school, that you're going to be like, oh, this bad girl, even after school.
No,
it can
that's not
change.
what I mean. Because honestly, I wasn't even good at school, and we know this.
Yeah.
I was in your office every day talking to you.
Talking, because,
Yes.
problems.
Eating bagels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, that means too, counseling works.
Yeah.
I mean, for the teenagers, the counseling works, and the
Yeah.
parents, it works.
Yeah.
Coaching works. So, to the teenagers, as Diora says, you are your parents' greatest investment. That means from the day that you were born, your parents have been caring for you, worrying about you, providing for you, and loving you. And that's a lot that they have to go through. But they do it because they know that you are their most precious and valuable investment that they have. And I love the way that you say, you know what, we're going to be taking care of our parents, and we're going to be the ones that they rely on. And you're not lying. So, can't remember what the other one was. You know what?
Number 4.
Number 4, okay.
It's a big one.
Oh, talk about that one. I can't even talk about it. This is from the teenagers. I think it was 4 and 5, actually.
Yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was 4 and 5.
Read what 4 says. What does 4 say?
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect is the consideration for thoughts and others' feelings.
Yeah.
It is a different and to authority in a spirit of cooperation.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a healthy dose of respect. So, in other words, if you don't respect whoever you're around, 9 times out of 10, chances are they're not going to respect you.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, it takes respect to get respect." I don't really agree with that, because if you should always respect your elders. That just goes to show that you have morals. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you have morals, they're going to want to engage in a conversation more, or, you know what I mean? They're going to look at you in different ways, and your maturity level is just going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just going to keep getting mature.
I think this is when I beg to differ with you, because I agree with the fact that it takes, respect to get respect. Because then we have some parents and some teachers that just, a kid walks in, they have total no respect. They're constantly being yelled at,
Right.
looked down upon. And it's like, do you see me? Why can't you talk to me like a real person? And then guess what they get? They get yelled back and talk back at. Because then that's the way that, you're talking to them.
Right, but sometimes you have to be the bigger person. Yeah. You have to just pull everything aside, because honestly, you can kill a lot of people with kindness. When you go to school and your teacher is yelling at you, when you sit down and you open up your book and you just smile at them, they're going to get upset, because they're going to just say, wow, I don't have anything to say to this student right now. They're not giving me a reason to want to yell. They're not giving me a reason to feel like they're being disrespectful. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So basically,
yes.
you kind of have to, it's kind of like reverse psychology. You kind of have to be better at them at their own game. You know what I mean? It's like, it's what we do best.
You were listening and you actually were learning some things. It's just like, it's blowing me off the water. Yes, it is reverse psychology. So guess what? Because then those teachers, right, they also woke up with a husband that was yelling at them, and the kids that were not wanting to wake up, and then they come to school, then they get ready. So they're already frustrated as well.
Right.
So I think at some point when we're expecting them to be adults, they're also feeling so overwhelmed
Right.
that they need you, the student or the teenager, to be the adult in this place
Right.
and not yell back
Absolutely.
or anything. So
Because
hey.
we can't always be children forever. They have their own children that
Yes.
they're looking after. Everyone has their own lives. So
Yes.
I do agree with that statement.
Perfect.
I do.
Well said. What about number 5? We're talking about attitude.
Oh, it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
It's everything. Because if I come here to your show, which I want to thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
If I come here and I'm like a negative Nancy and I'm just like, oh man, this show, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? You know? And if I'm being negative, chances are this whole thing is going to be negative. I'm just going to rub my negativity on you, and you know what I mean? It's just,
You know what? I'm going to have to invite you to come back to another segment with us, because guess what? We have so much to talk about, and today we've been talking about 47 and a half things that you need to know on getting along with your teenagers, and also 47 and a half things of what to say to your teenagers. You can get all these books from Amazon.com, and as I said, I am the author of all these books that you're seeing on the table that we've been discussing today. Dira, thank you for coming to the show. We're going to do this again
soon.
So thank you, and
Thank
thank
you
you
so much.
for watching the Dr. STEM Show.